On what seemed like just another clear Thursday afternoon in Ahmedabad, under the vast expanse of the Indian sky, tragedy struck, casting a dark shadow over the vibrant city. The events that unfolded would leave an indelible mark on the history of aviation and the hearts of countless individuals. Air India Flight AI-171, a Boeing 787, 8 Dreamliner, a symbol of modern aviation and technological prowess, was preparing for its journey. The flight was set for London, carrying 242 souls on board, each with their own stories, dreams and destinations. Families, business travelers and individuals seeking new adventures filled the cabin, unaware of the impending catastrophe. Moments after takeoff from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport, as the aircraft gracefully ascended into the sky, disaster unfolded with terrifying speed. The plane climbed to just 625 feet, a mere heartbeat in aviation terms, before it inexplicably began to fall from the sky, defying all expectations and safety protocols. Onlookers watched in horror, their eyes wide with disbelief and terror, as the aircraft, now a projectile of immense force, crashed into a medical college hostel, a place of learning and sanctuary. The impact ignited a massive fire, consuming everything in its path and sending plumes of thick black smoke billowing into the sky. Incredibly, amidst the devastation, only one person, Viswashkumar Ramesh, survived the horrific ordeal. Everyone else on board perished in the flames and wreckage, their lives tragically cut short. The crash also caused casualties on the ground, adding to the already immense tragedy during the hostel's busy lunch hour, when students were gathered, seeking respite and nourishment. Emergency services rushed to the scene, sirens wailing and lights flashing, but the fire, fueled by jet fuel and the debris of the aircraft, was overwhelming, defying their best efforts. This was the first fatal crash of a Boeing Dreamliner, a relatively new aircraft lauded for its efficiency and safety, raising urgent questions worldwide about the safety and reliability of modern aviation technology. How could such a modern plane, equipped with the latest advancements in engineering and safety features, fail so quickly after takeoff? A critical phase of flight where safety protocols are paramount? A phase usually considered statistically safe, with countless successful takeoffs occurring every day around the globe. Investigators from India and abroad, experts in their respective fields, began the painstaking process of searching for answers in the charred wreckage, meticulously piecing together the fragments of what remained. Their mission was clear: uncover the cause of this devastating accident, and implement measures to prevent future tragedies of this magnitude. The world watched with bated breath, desperate for answers and assurances that the skies could once again be considered safe. The search for clues, for answers, and for a path forward had begun, amidst the ashes of a tragic day in Ahmedabad. To understand the chain of events that led to this devastating crash, we need to talk about thrust, the fundamental force that propels an airplane forward, allowing it to overcome drag and achieve flight. It's the very essence of powered aviation. Jet engines generate thrust by, in essence, creating a controlled explosion, first sucking in vast quantities of air, compressing it to increase its density, then mixing this compressed air with a precisely measured amount of fuel, and igniting the mixture, blasting it out the back at tremendous speed. This expulsion creates an equal and opposite reaction, pushing the engine, and the aircraft attached to it, forward. This force is absolutely crucial, especially during takeoff, the most critical phase of flight, when maximum power is needed to lift the plane against the relentless pull of gravity. For a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, a marvel of modern engineering, each of its 2 engines produces over 70,000 pounds of thrust, a staggering amount of power, enough to lift a fully loaded 250-ton aircraft into the sky and keep it aloft for thousands of miles. If that power is suddenly lost, even momentarily, the consequences are immediate and potentially severe, demanding quick thinking and precise action from the flight crew. Pilots meticulously control thrust, increasing it to maximum for takeoff to generate the necessary lift and acceleration, and carefully reducing it for the more fuel-efficient cruise phase or the delicate landing approach. Without enough thrust, the aircraft's aerodynamic balance is disrupted. A plane simply can't climb to a safe altitude or even stay airborne against the forces of drag and gravity. In the case of the incident in Ahmedabad, the plane's alarming inability to climb after takeoff immediately pointed investigators towards a possible engine failure or significant malfunction. If, and this was the critical question, both engines had simultaneously lost power, the pilots would have had virtually no way, given the low altitude and airspeed, to recover and keep the plane flying, turning a dire situation into a catastrophic one. Therefore, investigators meticulously focused their attention on the engines, painstakingly searching for any telltale signs of a catastrophic loss of thrust, a mechanical failure, or any other anomaly that could explain the sudden loss of power. Thrust, quite simply, is the heart of flight, the lifeblood of an aircraft, and its sudden, unexpected loss is every pilot's worst nightmare, a scenario they train rigorously to avoid and manage. Understanding the critical role of thrust helps explain why any engine failure, especially during the most vulnerable phases of flight, is considered so incredibly dangerous, especially right after takeoff, when the aircraft is at its lowest altitude and slowest speed. The investigation, therefore, immediately zeroed in on the crucial question: what sequence of events could have possibly caused both of those powerful engines to fail almost simultaneously? The answer to that question could ultimately mean the difference between life and death for those on board, and could provide critical lessons for improving aviation safety worldwide. In the agonizing seconds before the crash, as the aircraft hurtled towards the ground, the pilots, facing imminent disaster, sent a mayday call, a desperate plea for help, a signal to the world that they were in dire straits. This wasn't just any message, it was a universal distress signal, understood by every air traffic controller and pilot across the globe. It was aviation's equivalent of a 911 call. Captain Sumit Sabharwal's urgent words captured on the cockpit voice recorder painted a terrifying picture of the unfolding crisis. No thrust, losing power. A concise yet devastating report. This message, though brief, was a critical clue, a beacon in the darkness for investigators trying to piece together the puzzle. It was pointing directly to engine trouble, suggesting a catastrophic malfunction within the heart of the aircraft. No thrust meant the engines weren't providing the force needed to fly, the essential power required to overcome gravity and maintain altitude. The plane was essentially gliding. The Mayday call immediately shifted the investigation's focus, away from speculation about other potential causes and straight to the engines, demanding a thorough examination of their condition and operation. Investigators would meticulously analyze the cockpit voice recorder, poring over every word, every sound, to reconstruct the pilot's final moments, to understand their actions, their decisions, and the challenges they faced in the face of impending doom. The fact that both engines lost power is an extremely rare occurrence in modern aviation, a testament to the rigorous safety standards and engineering redundancies built into these complex machines. Normally, if one engine fails, the other can keep the plane flying, allowing the pilots to safely navigate to an emergency landing. A double engine failure suggests a problem affecting both engines simultaneously, indicating a common cause or a systemic flaw. The Mayday call became the investigation's starting point, the crucial piece of information that set the entire process in motion. It was a chilling, real-time diagnosis from the cockpit, a stark and unfiltered account of the unfolding disaster. Investigators now had a clear direction, a focused path forward in their quest to understand the tragedy. Their primary objective was to find out what could have silenced both engines, what catastrophic event could have robbed the aircraft of its power and left it hurtling towards the earth. The search for answers intensified, becoming a race against time to prevent similar tragedies in the future. One leading theory: fuel contamination. Jet fuel must be pure. Any water, dirt, or chemicals can cripple engines. Contaminated fuel can enter through storage tanks, trucks, or airport facilities. Water and fuel can freeze at altitude, blocking lines and starving engines. Past incidents, like the 2008 British Airways crash, showed how ice in fuel can cause engine failure. Investigators collected fuel samples from the airport and wreckage, checking for contamination. They traced the entire fuel supply chain, looking for lapses. If the fuel was tainted, it would explain why both engines failed at once. Other planes using the same fuel were also checked for problems. Fuel contamination is a top suspect in any double-engine failure. Ruling it in or out is one of the first steps in the investigation. The answer could reveal a hidden danger lurking in the system. Another possibility: a catastrophic electrical failure. Modern planes like the Dreamliner rely on complex electrical systems to control everything, including the engines. If these systems fail, pilots can lose the ability to manage engine power. Multiple backups exist, but a central electrical fire or short circuit could defeat them all. The Dreamliner had a history of electrical issues, including battery fires that once grounded the fleet. Investigators examined the wreckage for signs of electrical failure or fire. They scrutinized wiring, batteries, and control systems for clues. A total electrical loss could explain the sudden loss of thrust. This scenario, while rare, is not impossible. The investigation left no wire unchecked. A third theory: a hidden flaw in the plane's design or construction. Whistleblowers had warned of shortcuts and quality issues at Boeing's factories. Claims included poorly fastened fuselage sections and faulty parts. Investigators examined the Dreamliner's maintenance records and every recovered part for defects. A single faulty component, if used in both engines, could explain the disaster. Previous Boeing incidents, like the 737 MAX crashes, showed how hidden flaws can have deadly consequences. The team searched for any sign of structural weakness or manufacturing error. The stakes for Boeing, and for aviation safety, were enormous. Accident investigation is a meticulous process. Experts from India, the US, and the UK joined forces to find the cause. The black boxes, flight data recorder, and cockpit voice recorder were crucial. These devices reveal the plane's final moments, second by second. Investigators also pieced together wreckage-reviewed maintenance logs and interviewed witnesses. Every detail mattered sometimes. Disasters result from a chain of small failures. This is known as the Swiss cheese model. When multiple safety layers fail at once, tragedy can strike. The team looked for every hole in the system, their goal not to assign blame, but to prevent future accidents. The investigation was a race against time and public anxiety. Each clue brought them closer to the truth. The world waited for answers. As the cause became clearer, the question of responsibility loomed. If fuel was contaminated, suppliers and airport staff could be at fault. If a design or manufacturing flaw was found, Boeing or the engine maker might be responsible. Maintenance errors would point to Air India's engineering team. Sometimes responsibility is shared. One mistake missed by another layer of safety. Legal and financial consequences would follow, with families seeking justice. Regulators could impose fines or demand changes in procedures. The ultimate goal: accountability and prevention. The tragedy demanded answers and action. Only by facing the truth could future disasters be averted. Every crash is a tragedy, but also a lesson. Aviation safety advances through learning from disaster. The investigation's final report will recommend changes to prevent a repeat. Airlines, manufacturers, and regulators must act on these lessons. Continuous improvement is why flying remains the safest way to travel. The responsibility for safety is shared by all, from Boeing to Air India to government agencies. The loss in Ahmedabad is a stark reminder of what's at stake. Honoring the victims means making the skies safer for everyone. Only through accountability and vigilance can we protect future travelers.